that as
We
soon
good?
as it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today, which is New York's Canals by Boat and Bike. We are joined by a lot of people here today, so welcome everybody. Um, just so we know, if everybody could put where they're from in the chat, that would be really interesting to see all of the different places that everybody is coming from today. Today we're going to be hearing from a few different panelists. Oh, Woodstock, New York, Madison, Indiana, oh, Oregon, Texas. Hello, everybody from across, from across the country. Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and Syracuse. So we've got some locals and some people from farther away, which is awesome. So welcome, everybody. As I was saying, we're going to be hearing from four different panelists today. Well, five if you include me. My name is Ashley. I'm from the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor. After I speak today, we're going to be hearing from Georgia Wonson. She's from the New York State Canal Corporation. That's her waving, if you can see Georgia. Then we're going to hear from Mona Karen, who is an expert on all things paddling the canals. She is the Director of Trails and Stewardship for the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor. Following that, we're going to hear from Erica Snyder, who is our resident expert on cycling the Canalway Trail. She is from Parks and Trails, New York. And then last but certainly not least, we're going to hear from Derek Pratt from the Erie Canal Museum, who's going to take us on a deeper dive into how to make the most of your trip on the Erie Canal. So stay tuned for the end because there's going to be a lot of insider information that Derek's going to provide in the last part of today's meeting. So, Erica, I'm going to have you go ahead. I think I kind of covered the agenda. The last thing we're going to do today is have an opportunity for some Q&A. Some of you have already submitted some questions, which is awesome. We have Becky Blanchard here from the New York State Canal Corporation. She's going to help us moderate today's chat and help out with the Q&A portion at the end. All right, so hopefully, if you are on this webinar today, you have already been curious about the Erie Canal or the New York State Canal System. But in case you're not completely sold yet, let me influence you. The New York State Canal System is deeply steeped in history. It opened in 1825 to create a path of travel from New York City to the Great Lakes. It took about 8 years to build. The construction started in 1817, and again, it was completed in 1825. So if you're good at math, or if you've been following any one of our organizations, you will know that we just celebrated the bicentennial of the opening of the Erie Canal last year in 2025, which was a big deal for all of us. Um, the canal was enlarged 3 times to make way for bigger boats and more traffic. And by the final enlargement, the canal and the Mohawk River were one and the same. So on the next slide, you're going to see a map and you'll kind of get to see what that looks like. But many people get confused because they're like, is this the Mohawk River or is it the Erie Canal? They're the same thing. Motorized boats and the ability to canalize the Mohawk with dams and locks is what made the river navigable in those later years. So, because of this deep history and the canal essentially being the path of travel that opened up the American interior to boats, and it created the Empire State. So it solidified New York's reputation as the Empire State, and it made New York City the commercial capital of the world. Because of this incredible history, the canal is recognized for its national significance. So in the year 2000, the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor was established, which really set the stage for this being a nationally significant place that should be protected and working in partnership with the National Park Service. The Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor was born. In 2016, the New York State Barge Canal was designated as a National Historic Landmark. The Barge Canal is just in reference to that last enlargement. That's usually what people call the canal system that exists today. And in more recent history, the Empire State Trail was completed in 2020. The Empire State Trail is the longest a multi-use single state trail in the nation. It goes from New York City up north to Canada, and of course, it uses the Canalway Trail, which is the east-west spine of the Empire State Trail system. And last but not least, the New York State Canalway Water Trail was designated as a national water trail in 2002, which means that the waterway is very significant for boating and paddling. And it was recognized on a national level for being a waterway that is worthy of protection and promotion. Okay. So, the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor, as you can see from this map, is very expansive. Um, it not only encompasses the Erie Canal, which is that east-west spine, it also connects to other bodies of water in New York State through some of the smaller canals. So you can see that the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor encompasses the two largest Finger Lakes, which of course are the Cayuga and Seneca. It connects the Hudson River all the way up to Lake Champlain, which allows boats to navigate to Canada and into the St. Lawrence Seaway. And it also connects to the eastern portion of Lake Ontario through the Oswego Canal. So many boaters will often use that as their path of travel into the Great Lakes. And the reason for that is because there are a lot of, as the song says, as the famous song says, low bridges in the western part of the state. So a lot of larger boats and larger vessels choose to use the Oswego and the Champlain canals as a way to navigate into larger bodies of water. Okay, we can go to the next one. Now, because the canal system is so expansive and it's so big, that means that there's a ton of regional variety, which can seem overwhelming, but it's also a really great thing, especially for those of you who plan to travel the entire canal system. The canal passes through all of the major cities in upstate New York, which isn't a coincidence. A lot of these cities and towns grew up around the canal and they exist because the canal ran through their area. And you'll find that a lot of these cities and towns are often spaced about 15 miles apart. And that has historical significance too. Again, referencing the song, 15 miles on the Erie Canal. That's often the path of travel that a mule could go before it got tired and had to take a rest. So you'll find that amenities are nice and evenly spaced throughout the canal too, just because of the placement of many of the communities. So you'll travel through cities, towns, rural areas, which truly add to the experience. And each region has its own distinctive beauty, vibe, and there's even foods in each region that you won't experience anywhere else in the country. And where you go really depends on what you personally like, how you plan to travel here, and hopefully after hearing from our presenters today, you'll have a better idea of what a trip on the Erie Canal looks like for you. So if you're in the beginning stages of planning your trip, I highly recommend starting on the Erie Canalway website under the Explore tab, which gives you more insight into which region piques your interest most, where to go to learn more, and how you want to travel or recreate on the canal. We have multi-day itineraries there, trip ideas, a spot for boat rentals and tours, and events. The calendar of events lists events that happen across the entire Canalway corridor. So no matter where you're going, you can find something that will help bring you to the water. And as our presenters are going through their different topics today, just know that all of the resource links that are discussed today will be included at the end of the presentation, and everybody on the webinar today will be sent the presentation that will include the library of resource links. Oh, and if I didn't mention it before, we are recording today's webinar and you'll all be sent the recording afterwards as well. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Georgia Wonson from the New York State Canal Corporation to tell us a little bit about boating on New York's canals.
You asked me a great introduction, in setting for what visit us in the new year. So
Georgia, sorry, Georgia, you're breaking up a little bit. Is anyone else experiencing that? Okay, let's try again.
that. Is that a little bit better?
Yeah, that sounds a little better.
So,
You're still breaking up a little bit, Georgia.
oh. All right, anything better now?
Yes,
Clearer?
better.
Are we sure? Okay, I'm gonna
Yes.
sit really close to my screen and hopefully that fixes it. So we're good to go?
Yes.
That seems to be working, yes.
Okay, all right. Of course, a little bit of glitch to get going here. So I guess let's start. Have you ever navigated on New York's canals? And if so, please inundate our chat with the canals that you have navigated on. Four major canals here: Erie Canal, Champlain Canal, Oswego Canal, and the Cayuga Seneca. So if you have navigated, please inundate our chat with those, and we'll look forward to seeing who's visited us. So we can go to the next slide. So the topics I'm going to cover today are, in this short amount of time, will be our New York's canals, preparing for navigation, some of the canal structures you'll see along the way, so what to expect. We get a lot of folks and first timers who may be a little apprehensive because we do have a lot of structural assets along the system that are large and industrial, but hopefully this presentation will quell any anxieties and really highlight how beautiful and what a marvel those structures are and how fun they are to visit. And actually, the experience of navigating through them is quite wonderful and unique. So we certainly don't let that stop you. Also, camping accessibility and some of the communities that are ready to receive you and host you as you move through the canal system. We have over 200 canal communities along the system, and over 200 personalities. So each community offers, a different slice of life and different activities going on, and we'll get into that just a little bit. We can go to the next slide. So here's just a similar map to the one Ashley shared, but gives a little bit of an overview of some of the structural assets, again, that you'll see as you navigate through the system by boat. So our Erie Canal, probably our most recognizable canal. I was going to make a joke about hearing that there may be a song related to the canal, but Ashley already I can't fake that I don't know the song anymore. So Erie Canal is 338 miles of navigable waterway. You really can't get lost on our canals. Once you're in, and you can go back and forth. The Erie Canal has 35 locks. So if you're apprehensive in any way about entering our system and going through a lock, we're certainly going to talk a little bit more about that. But you'll have plenty of experience by the time you make it through. Another thing to pay attention to here is our channel depth and our bridge clearances. So you can see across our canals here, each canal has different assets, and each canal has a slightly varying range of channel depth and bridge clearance. So as we talked about out west in the area where the canal follows its original alignment when it was originally built, the bridge clearance is going to be much lower. So many of our larger commercial vessels and especially larger recreational vessels are going to end up going north on our Oswego Canal once they reach Syracuse. The Erie Canal has, like Ashley said, a lot to offer, a lot of different range of beautiful, lush fields and farms and forests. The Montezuma Wildlife Refuge, the 10,000-acre national refuge along the Erie Canal. That's a nature enthusiast dream. And then as you get out west, you really do feel that intimate relationship between when the canal was originally built and the communities that it helped to really spur and evolve. Champlain Canal is a history buff stream, so lots of battle sites from French and Indian War to the Revolutionary War to the Battle of Saratoga. You'll find a little bit of everything there. It's also recognized as a cause of freedom from slavery, as it's part of the Underground Railroad. And the Seneca Canal, as Ashley mentioned, does open access to the Finger Lakes region, where you'll find wine country, world-class cultural and recreational attractions. You can make your way to Watkins Glen. Ithaca really opens up access to really unique parts of the state, as well as the Oswego Canal, which is renowned for the Three Rivers area of the state and really good sports fishing. You go to the next slide. So preparing for navigation, things to think about as you prepare to join us on the canal system. This year, our navigation season is scheduled to open on May 15th or close to then, and then scheduled to close October 15th. Obviously, this is weather dependent. Mother Nature can be a formidable foe for us at times, but our crews are constantly working to be out there ensuring that navigation season is full and exciting and open for all of those who want to visit us. Next slide. So boater registration requirements. Notice to mariners is a system we use to inform all of that we send all the notices that may affect navigation along the waterway. So anything related to openings, closures, water levels, construction going on along the system, hazards, any notice that we want to get out to mariners. So these notices are available on our website, posted and updated regularly, but they're also available via email and text. So one thing we encourage and recommend to boaters visiting us is that they sign up for these text messages so that you have real-time access to changing conditions along the canal system. Obviously, we want to ensure that all of our recreational vessels are properly registered by their State Department motor vehicles, and also New York State has something called Brianna's Law, which is a state-approved boating safety course that all vessels and boaters must participate in before navigating our waters. Another thing is just to be mindful of the minimum clearances and requirements across the canal as you plan your trip, and understanding, the channel depth may change as you get out west, and just being sure that you're keeping up on, what the requirements for your particular vessel. Next slide. If you're a sailboat and interested in coming on the canal, of course, we want you to visit, but we do require that sailboats demast prior to entering the canal. Obviously, when we're talking about those bridge height requirements, they won't accommodate a mast that's fully up. So we do ask that those masts, or that we demast prior to entering the canal. Some marinas do offer a service for storing your mast if you want to have the deck space as you navigate through the canal. We encourage you to reach out to local chambers of commerce for those services. And then there are, of course, demasting locations, pretty close to where the entrances are, either side or north and south to the canal. Also, clean, drain, dry, and helping to stop the spread of aquatic invasive species is very important to the canal. As we mentioned before, we are more or less a superhighway for aquatic hitchhikers. We can connect all over the world. So, from New York City to Canada to the Great Lakes, you can pretty much get anywhere in the world through the canal system. So obviously, it's extra important that we are mindful of how we can reduce the spread of aquatic invasive species. New York State regulations do prohibit boats from launching without cleaning visible plant and animal matter from their equipment. And it's important to clean, drain, and dry all equipment that comes in contact with the water, plants, and fish or animals before transporting. Next slide. All right, so now that we got sort of the rules and regulations out of the way, what can you expect to see as you navigate through our system? So this section, I really wanted to just kind of highlight these structures of ours in picture form, not a lot of words to sort of show you kind of how special they are. So this is a sunset view of Lock E20 in Marcy. And locks are concrete chambers with a set of gates on each end. And we like to just refer to them and remind people that really they're an elevator for boats. Boats come in or out, and water is either let into the chamber or released from the chamber in order to allow the vessel to transit a changing elevation. So, like I said before, there's 57 locks across the system. And if you enter our system in Waterford, New York, which is actually behind me, so all these boats are entering on opening day into Waterford, New York. This is where the Hudson meets the Erie Canal, north of New York City. If you enter into Waterford, you will immediately be greeted by a set of five flight of locks that elevate you 169 feet within a mile and a half. So this is considered the highest lift in the shortest distance span in the world. So if you enter our system there and you make it through those five locks, it'll take you a couple hours, but you'll be good to go after that. You'll have all the practice you need to endure the next 30 as you maybe transit to Buffalo. All right, our lift bridges. So the New York State Canal System has 16 active lift bridges in Western New York between Fairport and Lockport. These were built between 1905 and 1918, and really their purpose is to allow vehicle and foot traffic to navigate over the canal and then accommodate a vessel coming through when it needs to. So these bridges lift up, allow the vessel to navigate through, and then come back down and resume traffic within the community. Here is a photo of a guard gate in Waterford, New York. And guard gates isolate sections of the canal in case of an emergency. So they're a safety protocol, such as a break in a canal wall or an extreme high water event like flooding, etc. So they also allow sections of the canal to be drained for maintenance and winter freeze protection. So they allow us to do a lot of manipulating water levels across the system as needed. Next slide. And then our movable dams. So here's an example of a movable dam at Lock E12, Tribes Hill, New York. And movable dams regulate water flow along the Mohawk River. So these are located mainly between Schenectady and Fort Plain along the Erie. And there's also a number of fixed dams throughout that area as well. These dams are clearly marked, but of course, dams can be very dangerous. So boaters and paddlers should always steer clear and be aware of their surroundings as they approach these dams. And the last slide here of vessels you may see are working and commercial vessels. So here's a picture of a New York State Canal Corporation tug. So our tugs and our crews are out on the system during navigation season, almost every day. You may see them. And also commercial vessels use this system as well. So it is important to note that commercial vessel traffic does have the right of way. If you're approaching a lock, and there's a commercial vessel, they will have first passage as far as entering the lock. So it's just important to know that recreational and slow travel is secondary to the commercial vessels. But unlike a large, Mississippi River style environment where you have huge commercial shipping, our waters are calm and smooth. And even with commercial shipping alongside you, you're never going to feel that you're overrun by large vessels. Okay. All right. So for those who have any trepidation about entering a lock, here's a little run through of how to lock through the New York State Canal locks. So as you can see in this photo, these people look happy. They are in the system. We've gotten questions in the past about training that you may need or how many crew members you need to enter a lock. So hopefully this photo provides some reassurance that it's a pretty relaxed situation. There's two folks here. It looks like a nice couple enjoying their time. And also we're told regularly, fact, all the time, that our lock tenders are just some of the most wonderful people. We get tons of compliments on them. They're really sort of the face and customer service of our organization, and they enjoy, meeting people, helping you through the procedures here. So, approaching the lock. As you approach a lock, you advise the lock operator that you're approaching. You can do that in a number of ways. There's a phone number available to call, which you can use. You can also dial in on the radio on channel 13. And then if you have no actual mode of communication in that way, if you honk 3 times, that's also a signal of your approach. So what you do is you wait for the green light to enter, and then you approach the gate slowly once you have that green light. As you enter the lock, you're going to enter slowly. You're going to stay in line with the approach, and you're going to station your vessel along the lock wall as directed by the operator. While you're inside the lock chamber, and as the water levels are changing, you're going to keep the bow and stern close to the chamber wall and hold the lines provided or loop a line around a holding apparatus. Obviously, it's important to remember that you're not tying up tightly to anything because you are moving elevation. You want to maintain that ability to move up and down. Serious injury can result from using your hands and feet to bend a moving boat off the wall. So should use a boat hook, paddle, or oar. And also our ropes have been known to be a little bit icky and gooey, so we do recommend wearing some gloves. And as you exit the lock, the gates will open once the water in the lock chamber reaches the proper level. So once things even out on either side, gates will open and you can proceed slowly and wave and be on your way. It's really a fun experience. I highly recommend it. It's tactile. It's got, a great orchestra and symphony of noises going on. It's fun. It's really something special to do. Next slide. Also along the way, there's plenty to see and do at our lock parks and in the communities again. So camping. Next slide. A lot of people asked about camping at the locks. There are 17 designated cycler, hiker, boater campsites at our lock parks. These are considered primitive sites because they have limited and varying amenities and generally no potable water is available there. Stays are limited to 48 hours, but they do provide a really unique backdrop. If you are, biking through, or sometimes boaters, even, if you're on a paddle boat or a smaller vessel, like to put their tent up at the lock site, which is kind of next. Next slide. Accessibility along the canal. So the Canals is very focused on making our park spaces and waterways accessible for all and enjoyable for all. So our On the Canals program does offer free outdoor cultural, accessible, and educational adventures to do near the New York State Canal system. These excursions can include kayaking, hiking, cycling, cruising, outdoor painting, snowshoeing, and many, many more adaptive and accessible adventures. So we encourage anybody that's coming to visit the system to check out On the Canals website, which will be updated regularly, and we'll have the 2026 event offerings in the near future. And then our communities, as I said before, visiting the communities along the canal system by boat is really just some of the most fun. So many different personalities in so many different communities. There's different amenities available. There's different styles of, when you tie up and where you can walk to and what you can see. Here's an example of here's a photo of the Flotsam River Circus as it visited Waterford, New York, where lock 2 is going to be on your left where the boats move through, but on the right here is Old Canal, and you can see some of the old lock there. And then the circus down on the water in between. And then here's just a very small sampling, of course, because there's no way I could possibly fit everything into here of what you might find as you plan your trip. But a few things just to plug. The Medina Art Triennial in Medina, New York will take place this summer from June through September. That's the first of its kind, first of its triennial series. And this is co-sponsored by the New York State Canal Corporation. Fairport Canal Days, where that lift bridge was. They have a unique canal festival that's very well attended. The Albany Symphony Orchestra will be doing their second year of their water music series, where they do concerts along the canal, as you can see in that top left photo. This year, their concerts will be in Waterford, Rome, and the Tonawondas in July and August. I know Ashley mentioned culinary experiences along the canal, and so as I was writing this, I was thinking, okay, the Garlic Herb Festival is in Little Falls in September, but then it's also followed up by a cheese festival in Little Falls in October. So I'm thinking if you planned it right, like you can go to Little Falls and then you can go to Utica and do their food stuff in Utica, including chicken riggies and all sorts of stuff. Make your way to Buffalo, have some chicken wings and a garbage plate, and then come back and be back in time for the cheese festival in October. So just some new ways to think about, culinary exploration along the canal. Sasquatch Calling is a festival up the Champlain Canal in Whitehall, New York. And this has gotten a lot of attention. So if you are interested in checking out a really unique festival and trying your Sasquatch Scream for a chance to win a Sasquatch trophy, you can add that to your itinerary. Tugboat Roundup in Waterford is a huge gathering of maritime tugs and all sorts of tugboat fanatics, which is really fun. Harborfest in Frankfurt, and just endless festivals along the system all summer. Also, canal boat rentals in Macedon. You can actually rent a canal boat that you and your family can navigate on your own along the canal system for a week or different amounts of time. And then there's plenty of tour boat excursions system-wide. So as you can see here, we have Governor Hochul, who is navigating a boat in Cornhill Navigation, enjoying a day out on one of the tour boats there. So plenty to do. And I'll just go one more slide, I think. Much of what I covered here is in our border resource guide. This is available by PDF on our website. There's even more information in here, and definitely, absolutely, any questions you have, myself, and counterparts, please email, please reach out. Becky's here. We'd all be more than happy to share anything we can with you to get you to come and spend some time with us here. And we look forward to seeing you on the water this summer. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mona with Erie Canalway. So paddling the Canalway Water Trail offers a very unique experience where you can enjoy paddling through all the canal features that Georgia just talked about. So, going through a lock is a really fun experience. And every segment of the 450 miles of the canal system is diverse with the narrow man-made waterway, wide river sections. We've got a few lakes that you'll be traveling through and, several rivers that have been canalized, if that's the right pronunciation. It's also diverse in the landscape with, urban, suburban, rural, and wilderness areas. So there are over 150 public access sites on the canal system, and there are water trail blazes. You'll see the logo down below on the left side of your screen there, that mark the sites so that you know where it's safe to launch and where you can take out. They're visible from the shore and also from the waterway. The water trail is very easily navigable. It's very calm, and there are over 25 adaptive launch sites located across the system so that people of all abilities can enjoy time on the water. If you can move to the next slide, please. Great. And so with the 4 canal systems, you can see the mileage there and approximately how long it would take you if you were to plan a through paddle on each of the canal systems. Of course, they vary depending on, how fast you want to go, how much time you want to spend on the water, and if you want to explore, the communities that you're stopping along. So those are just estimates. Also, you can see where you can, what's recommended in terms of paddling downstream. It's a lot easier to have to paddle downstream versus having to go, against the tide. So, Erie, west to east, Champlain, north to south, Oswego, south to north. And on the Cayuga Seneca, really, you can go either way. It's only 12 miles. And then, just to remember some safety considerations. Always avoid paddling close to the movable dams and the hydroelectric assets. Yield to commercial vehicles and beware of tour boats, motorboats, and others that are using the waterway. Sometimes you'll see jet skis along the way. We recommend paddling close to shore as much as possible. There are buoys that help you navigate so that you know exactly, where you can paddle and where you should avoid. Always remember to wear your life vests, have a whistle and a white light. And as Georgia mentioned, bring gloves to hold on to those slimy lock ropes. Georgia provided information on how to lock through, so we won't cover that. But, use your whistle 3 times in order to get the lock operator's attention when you want to lock through. Usually they'll see you coming. But if you don't see anybody there, usually 3 whistles will get their attention. Just a quick note too, that stand-up paddleboards are usually not allowed through the locks. So you'd want to contact the lock operator to confirm that you're not able to use your paddleboard. Next slide, please. Okay. So we've been building community of paddlers on the canal over the years through a network of outfitters, rental outfitters, clubs, and paddling associations. We have a Facebook group with nearly 4,000 members, and they like to share photos, tips, and trip ideas. We have many trail angels in the group, so if you're planning a through paddle, and if you're looking for help or just, a place to stay overnight, you can put your request or request information right in that Facebook group. And all you have to do is search the New York State Canalway Water Trail on Facebook. We also have a monthly e-newsletter that goes out, and we have almost 4,000 subscribers to that as well. And we send that out monthly. We provide information on events, paddling races, trip ideas. We also have a segment on paddling through history, so you can learn more about, some historic tidbits in case you're planning on going to that particular area. If you could go on to the next slide, please. So there are some great ways to experience the canal. Erie Canalway hosts an annual paddling event on the canals. This year, Paddle the Canals Mohawk River Adventure will be taking place on Saturday, June 27th. We're going to be going from Niskayuna to Colony, and registration will be opening up next week. And, whether it's a self-guided trip or self-planned or through group activity, there are many events that are happening along the canal system. So we have a very robust events calendar on our website, and, events are being added on a daily basis. So keep checking back to find events and that have paddling components, along with all the other events that were mentioned earlier. We also have a New York State Canalway Water Trail Stewardship Program. We have a volunteer team of over 90 people that help care for and monitor the water trail from May 1st to October 31st. So there are a lot of different angles and different ways for you to experience the canal. Paddlers should also remember to clean, drain, and dry. So there are boat washing stations located throughout the canal system and on different waterways. So we encourage people to remember to do that. And then we'll move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so we have several resources to help you plan a multi-day excursion or a half-day trip. The New York State Canalway Water Trail Guidebook and Map Set is available on our website. So it's a mile by mile guide to help you plan a trip. And we have all 4 canal systems in this guidebook. It also comes with a set of 4 maps that are waterproof and tear resistant. So it's a great resource to have on your person when you're actually in a kayak or canoe. Or you can download pages for free on our website. So I encourage everybody to take a look at that. Our website also has a list of best bet trips to help you plan where to go. And then we have a list of rental outfitters to help you get started if you don't have your own boat. So there are over 25 rental outfitters that are located across the canal system. NewYorkCanalMap.com is our online trip planner. So again, take a look at that when you get a chance. That it will also be included in the resource guide. And then, please subscribe to our Water Trail e-news because that'll give you, the latest information on what's happening on the water trail. So that's it for me. Pass it on to the next person.
All right, thanks, Mona. So for those of you that prefer to stay on land, I'm going to cover cycling the Canalway Trail. So starting with the most famous section, the Erie Canalway Trail runs 360 miles between Buffalo and Albany, and 86% of that is on trail, and that about half of that is paved and half of that is stone dust or natural surface. And then that remaining 14% is on road, but it is generally back roads, rural roads with minimal traffic. But you should be comfortable riding with cars if you are planning on taking this end-to-end trip. And I will also note that when you're thinking about what type of bike to bring, basically whatever you have on hand is going to work. The trail surface is flat and generally very well maintained. So whatever you have is the bike to use. I'll also highlight the Champlain Canalway Trail, which runs 60 miles north-south between Waterford and Whitehall. And this trail is still in development. It's mostly on road, but it does have some really beautiful stretches of trail that follow the old Champlain Canal and takes you through some amazing small towns and some of that Revolutionary War history, especially exciting with the 250th celebration of our nation that we're celebrating now. And as Ashley pointed out, the Canalway Trail System is part of the statewide Empire State Trail System that includes the Erie Canalway, but also Hudson Valley stretch of the Empire State Trail, and then Champlain Valley stretch that goes all the way to Canada. So if you're looking to extend your trip, you have some great options to go to continue along some stellar rail trails. And some different types of rides that you can take range from day trips to planning your own self-supported tour to taking a trip with a organization like PTNY or some of the smaller tour operators. So we'll start with some ideas for day trips. The Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor has some great options for day trip ideas, running from 6 miles to 50 miles. So all across the corridor, you have your pick of some great cycling day trip options with some highlights included. And as Georgia mentioned, there are on the canals excursions happening all year round, some of them including cycling or hiking, bird watching, but that are often very accessible as well. So those are great options to look at when planning shorter trips on the trail. But when looking at the bigger picture, if you're planning a through trip, whether it's end to end or a couple days, starting with the question when you should go, I would recommend traveling when the canal is open. So between May 15th and October 15th, basically Memorial Day through Labor Day, you're going to have the best weather and most daylight and highest probability of businesses that are open. Some people do prefer to go in the fall. September is a really beautiful month. The weather's a little cooler, but you might run into some rain. And I really would recommend not going after Indigenous Peoples Day because many of the businesses might be closed up for the season. How long do you need? Well, we recommend whatever distance is good for your fitness level and your time that you have, but 40 to 60 miles is a good bet for traveling a good chunk of distance, but still giving yourself time to sightsee. So that ends up being around 6 to 8 days of riding, depending how far you travel in any given days. And you might want to increase that if you want to take a rest day in some of the beautiful canal towns that we have. Then people ask what direction to go, and this is really up to personal choice and convenience. But many people have reported going Buffalo to Albany because of the prevailing tailwinds and the slight downhill that you get. It's not big; it's mostly flat. But if you want to take advantage of that, you can. So, where are you going to stay along the way? You have some great options in the hotels and bed and breakfasts that are located at strategic locations, like Ashley was saying. Lots to see, lots of those communities along the trail. And we run a bike-friendly New York business certification program. So, if you visit our website or explore the canalwaytrail.com map, you'll see the businesses, the lodging that welcome cyclists, that by having space to bring bikes inside, either in your hotel room or in a garage or something for a bed and breakfast, that are ready and prepared to welcome you and provide guidance to cyclists. Many people ask about camping, and Georgia gave a great overview of the lock sites that you can stay at. That's a really special experience. But there are many other campsites you can stay at as well, ranging from state parks to private campgrounds to even municipal parks and marinas that allow you to set up camp. And there are over 50 of these across the corridor, again, highlighted on our Canalway Trail map that we keep updated. They're constantly evolving a little bit as more get added, but there are plenty of places to camp if that's your jam. And I'll just highlight really quick, if you're not aware of Warm Showers, it's a reciprocal hospitality network for touring cyclists. So hosts will indicate on this app and website that they are open to hosting touring cyclists, and they will offer a free, safe, and comfortable overnight accommodation for you. So you send them a message, and they'll either accept or say they're not available. And it's just a really cool way to meet locals and experience a little bit more of what the canal has to offer. This is me and some hosts I met that had ridden the Erie Canal, and I met them in Maine. So you're just meeting incredible people all the time. We also get a lot of questions about what to do at the end or beginning of your trip so that you only have to ride one way on the trail. Amtrak is a great option. They all three lines that run across New York State east to west allow bikes, but you will want to book these slots early because they often fill up. They're $20 a ticket to add a bike to your reservation, and that can be a great way. There are also several shuttle businesses that will pick you up, pick you and your bikes up, and take you across the state. And new this year, there's now one business that will shuttle you and your luggage across the state as you go if you don't want to carry all your gear with you as you ride. You can also rent a car or a U-Haul. And we recommend if you're going to leave your car somewhere, apologize for the background noise, you can leave them at the Amtrak stations. They provide secure overnight location or overnight parking. And of course, I have to recommend that everyone come and ride with PTNY for our annual Cycle the Erie Canal Bike Tour. We are a nonprofit and the leading statewide advocate for public lands and trail expansion and development. So this ride is both a party and supports our work. And it goes every July. This year it's the 11th to 19th. And we cover 400 miles. The extra mileage is from dipping down to Seneca Falls. and will take 8 days, and you'll get to meet 700 of your newest friends. It's a party the whole way across the state. Some of the benefits you get will be the mechanical support, the SAG or the support and gear that will pick you up if you need it, will help you out with any mechanical issues. We transport your luggage for you each day, and we provide really detailed routes and trail resources by marking the trail, providing daily maps and cue sheets, and providing ride with GPS routes. And of course, you'll never be too far from another cyclist if you end up getting off track. So that kind of finishes up what cycling is like. We would love to see you join the community, whether you come ride with us on our big bike tour or plan your own trip. We have lots of resources. Like I mentioned, our canalwaytrail.org website is a separate map from the New York Canals website. It includes really detailed, up-to-date trail information and all those campsites. We update all the trail closures and detour routes. We provide 2 cycling guidebooks that are for sale on our website. And like parallel to Mona's Water Trail Facebook group, there's also a Cycling the Erie Canal Facebook group that's an incredible community of 15,000 cyclists that have a lot of trail angels and other folks that have ridden the trail and can provide really expert advice. Over to you, Derek.
All right, great. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm Derek, Director of Education at the Erie Canal Museum, as was mentioned. I've traveled the canal a number of different ways, and I'm here to tell you about how, regardless of what mode of transportation you're taking along Clinton's Ditch or even the modern barge canal, how you can make the most out of your trip. Really, you will be immersed, whether you want to be or not, in history as well as incredible communities throughout upstate New York. But a lot of people don't really engage with those as fully as they probably wish once they've completed their trip. So I'll be giving you kind of pointers on how you can better, you know, prepare yourself for the trip, and then on the trip, actually make the most out of your experiences here in upstate New York, a place that I think everyone here on this panel loves. So if you could click the. All right, so before you head out, I am an educator and a giant nerd, so I will obviously be suggesting that you study up. There are a lot of ways you can do this. I would highly recommend reading at least one book about the Erie Canal. The best one, or one of the best you see here, Peter Bernstein's Wedding of the Waters. It's the first book I ever read about the Erie Canal. It got me hooked. But we also worked with PTNY to produce a list of the top 10 Erie Canal books that you can, we suggest reading before checking out the canal. You'll get that link and many more. I've seen a lot of people in the chats asking about links for various things. At the end of this, you'll be getting a long, extensive list of all of our resources, but check those out. Please consider buying them from, a local Erie Canal museum, be it mine or the many others. Don't give Jeff Bezos your money. Support the Canal Corridor. But if reading a book is a bit much for you, fear not. There's many other ways to learn about the canal, but it's great to have a basic understanding of the canal in general. There are a lot of great videos. I'll plug the Erie Canal Museum's YouTube channel itself. We put all of our Sloan lectures, which are a monthly speaking series, onto our YouTube page. You can also sign up for them now, and you can get Zoom links and recordings, once a month about Erie Canal history. Another great site for YouTube videos, at least, is Schoharie Crossing State Historic Sites YouTube page. You can learn a lot about the Erie Canal there. There's also a number of great podcasts that relate to the Erie Canal. Unfortunately, there is no dedicated Erie Canal podcast yet, but you have podcasts like the New York Minute in History, sponsored by the William G. Pomeroy Foundation. Its host is Devin Lander, the New York State historian. So you can learn about all sorts of history. There's the Buffalo History Museum podcast, which focuses on obviously Buffalo and more broadly Western New York. Repeating History with Bob Searing right here in Central New York, which is on the WCNY Community FM channel. And then some great well-known podcasts like the Bowery Boys, which is a New York City focused podcast, recently did a very good episode on the Erie Canal as well. I am biased. I'm the person they interviewed on it, but I recommend checking it out. There are a lot shorter articles as well. You can read about the canal too. Be careful when you're looking at those. Make sure it's a reputable source. They should have, some citations or link you places, because there's a lot of stuff written about the Erie Canal. Yeah, and additionally, there's a lot more to learn about than just, locks and mules. New York State has a rich history. Many of the previous presenters have talked about several of those aspects, but the Erie Canal, in addition to being this transformative transportation route, economically speaking, also was a major site for movements like abolition, women's rights. A number of religious groups form along the banks of the canal, and there's also really rich indigenous history along the way as well. So I highly recommend looking into those things as well. They'll really enrich your experience. And you can find more on a number of different sites. I will just plug the Underground Railroad Consortium of New York State as a great resource as well. All right, so you've studied up, you've learned your history, but maybe oh, nope, didn't say next slide, back. Um, so you've studied up, learned your history. Now you're going to want to kind of map out your day. I highly recommend checking out the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridors website. They have great itineraries for either single day trips, multi-day trips. I believe they have some that are like, if you love ice cream, here's where you can go to get the best ice cream in New York, right? So a lot of different great ideas for them. They kind of will prompt you in good places that you can check out. They also have a New York State Canal map that you can filter what sorts of things you want to see, whether you want to eat. I suggest, filtering the cultural institutions, that sort of thing. And once you've done that research, I suggest on your voyage, again, whichever method you're taking, have some must-sees. Don't plan out your entire day, but, say like, I definitely want to check out, the Erie Canal Museum. I want to go see the Richmond Aqueduct out on the Seneca River, that sort of thing. And then fill in the gaps there with new fun adventures on the canal as well. So next slide. All right, and then now you've done your research, you're prepared to travel the Erie Canal. Well, now I encourage you to stop and smell the roses, or at least read the historical markers. A great thing to remember is that the Erie Canal is this revolutionary transportation waterway, and it had a speed limit of 4 miles an hour. You don't have to race through the canal corridor, and you really shouldn't. Traveling at that 4 miles an hour, honestly, they were going more like 2 miles an hour. You were still able to cross New York State in a mere 5 to 7 days. So if you're on a bike, for instance, you don't need to rush. I mean, sure, it gets a little warmer later in the day, but you can stop. And I highly recommend that. There are tons of interpretive signs all along the route. Museums, historical societies, just individual communities have put tons of time and effort into making sure they can share the stories of their communities with you. And it's usually pretty interesting. When you're out on the canal, sometimes it can get a little monotonous, right? You are in a big artificial ditch. You got to think about something, right? And you can reflect on what you've read about, talk about it with your friends, etc. A great resource to learn more would be the William G. Pomeroy Foundation site. They sponsor the creation of those iconic blue and yellow signs along the roads of New York, and they have a digital map where you can see all these different signs that they've installed over the years. So if you miss any signs, don't worry, you can always check that out as well. And also, I encourage you to check out various museums and other cultural institutions. Go to the museums. The people working there and volunteering there love to share the story of this incredible waterway and the various things that happened along its banks. And also be sure to look for programs that are happening at them. Almost every site has, an events calendar, and those events can really add to your experience as well. Um, Also, a lot of people want to know, can I get on a boat on the Erie Canal? Assuming you're not on a boat. A lot of great boat tour companies as well on the canal. Check those out if you can. Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, I know, has some links with resources to that. And also on the canals was already mentioned. Be sure to check that out. There are a lot of great opportunities over the summer. Plus, someone already put it in the chat, the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor's events calendar is a great thing to check out as well. Next slide, please. All right. And finally, I just encourage you, get to know your communities. New York State was built by the Erie Canal. In fact, somewhere around 70 to 80% of upstate New Yorkers still live within 25 miles of the canal, and these towns all have rich histories and rich cultures today. I encourage you, try to talk to the locals and especially the lock tenders. Lock tenders love to talk about their locks and etc. Talk about the history of the canal. The New York State Canal Corporation has really done a great job fostering this sense of community along the canal. Yeah, check that out. Of course, try to shop local. Really, one of the great things about the canal is it is a huge economic engine for upstate New York. And we need it. As a historian, I could tell you all about the deindustrialization of the last 50 years. Tourism is a huge industry, and these local businesses are what keep our communities so vibrant and so unique. So really, I suggest checking those out. And they have way better pastries and stuff than Walmart or what have you. So go to those, and again, try to participate in community events. I've listed a number of resources that you can look at. One final plug for the Erie Canal Museum, check out our Beers, Bikes, and Barges program, perhaps, where we stop in different canal towns, do about an hour-long history tour of the town by bike, and then you get to have a beer at the end. Next slide, please. So here's just a lot of great images from the canal that show the diversity of things you can enjoy on the canal. We've got happy hours and community parties and events. There are paddling festivals. Mona already talked about one. Here's another in Chittenango. They're boat float and float. Ugh. Boat float. There we go. Excuse me. You've got cycling tours like the one I just mentioned. There's a lot of other cycling events all around. If you're like me and enjoy a good beverage at the end of the day of traveling along the canal, tons of breweries as well as wineries and distilleries along the canal. There's also great places to get food and ice cream. Pittsford Dairy, pictured here, is the best one. But don't at me about that. And there's also, of course, great lectures, etc., that can be attended at museums. I need to give a shout out to public libraries. They are great. They've got tons of programs happening all the time. They have facilities that you can use. Water is available. I once was having an asthma attack in Clyde, New York. They were helpful even in that. So check them out. There we go. Public libraries rule. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. So Thank you.
I just want to jump into before we start the Q&A portion and say that no matter how you come to the Erie Canal, whether you're cycling, paddling, walking. Unfortunately, this does not qualify for boating. It's only human-powered miles. Be sure to sign up for the Canalway Challenge. You can set a mileage goal. You don't have to go end to end, but you set a goal and you log miles towards your challenge, and then you get free swag at the end. The program is completely free. You get a mileage sticker and magnet, and each year we have a different giveaway. This year we're giving out Erie Canal pennants. So, no matter how you come and no matter how you go, make sure you can sign up for the Canalway Challenge. I'll drop the link to that in the chat, but it will also be in the resource guide that we mentioned at the end of the presentation. So with that, I think now we want to open up the Q&A. I tried to jump in and answer some questions as well as Becky, since we are running short on time. We're a little bit over our time here. But if anyone has any other questions, drop them in the chat now and we'll direct them to the right person.
And I had a few that I could bring up that came through the Q&A section of the presentation too. This is for any of you guys. It is a little tricky, even as I became an employee with the Canal Corp and NYPA. But in general, what are the main entities that promote and market the canal? We've got representatives from Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, Parks and Trails, Canal Corporation. A question kind of was, how is that overlap and how do these entities work together?
I can take that one.
Sure, sure.
So I'm going to give the shortest answer possible. We all try and work together as much as we possibly can so that we're not duplicating each other's work, but instead complementing each other's work. And I think you saw a good representation of what that looks like today. We all kind of have our own areas of expertise. But the short answer is the New York State Canal Corporation maintains and oversees the canal system. So they are the ones that employ the lock tenders, do all of the maintenance on the locks. They're in the canal doing the hard work. And so a lot of what you'll see them talk about is canal engineers, canal infrastructure, and a lot of what you heard Georgia speak about today is really what they specialize in. At Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, we work in partnership with the National Park Service, so we do a lot of general tourism promotion of the canal and recreational promotion of the canal. The New York State Canalway Water Trail, which you heard Mona talk a lot about, is under the umbrella of the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor. Our focus is really on historic preservation, pride of place, and maintaining the canal system as a historically significant living area. And we are also a nonprofit organization as well that kind of helps promote the canal system. At Parks and Trails New York, they are really focused on exactly what their name says, that parks and trails, which obviously the Canalway Trail makes up a big portion of the Parks and Trails system that is available in New York State. A lot of our state parks and trails are interconnected. They're working towards an even more interconnected network of trail systems across the state. And we all work together really closely to kind of promote the system as a unit. So we all do a little bit of different things, but we're working together all the time. We have monthly meetings, if not weekly meetings with each other about various programs and ways that we can kind of help and bolster and support the canal system. And of course, Derek over there at the Erie Canal Museum, he is like our resident history buff. He knows everything there is to know about canal history. So we'd be remiss if we didn't have him on today's conversation as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And between the Q&A and a lot of the questions in the chat, could we talk about e-bikes for a quick second? What's permitted and any specific locations or speed limits? Awesome. Thank you.
I can start that and maybe hand it over to Canals also. But generally, yes, class 1 and 2 e-bikes are permitted across the system. I will note that the Canalway Trail is managed by over 40 different entities. So There may be different speed limits depending on which section you're on, but generally, I think if you stick to the 15 mile per hour speed limit, I believe that's what Canals has on their property. That is a good bet. And I'll also add that we had a question come in registration, someone asking about whether you can rent e-bikes. And there are several locations where you can rent e-bikes just for day trips along the canal. But I know for sure that Buffalo Bike Tours offers both e-bike rentals and manual regular bike rentals. If you want to start your trip in Buffalo, they're a good place to rent a bike if you're coming in from out of town.
Wonderful. Thank you. This is a question maybe more so for Ashley, but everyone participated in our commemorative 200th bicentennial last year. And the events page was blowing up with so many different festivals and community events that we kind of had a toolkit for communities to promote the bicentennial. If you are in a community or an organization that wants to promote future activities on the Erie Canal, is there anything to look forward to or toolkits in the future in general?
Sorry, I had a problem coming off of mute there. If you're a community or an organization that has events that are coming up this year, you can add them to the events calendar yourself. There is a submit an event form right on the calendar. So if you go to eriecanalway.org/events, on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see a big blue button that says submit an event. I definitely recommend submitting your event through there. All of those requests to be added to the calendar come through me. So I'll see it, I'll make any tweaks that are needed, and I'll approve it, and it'll go up on the calendar for everybody to see. In terms of like major events coming up, Erie Canalway plans to promote America's 250th, and where you can explore the 250th anniversary of America in the corridor. So definitely stay tuned for that. Um, and then in the long term, there are kind of events that happen every single year that we always like to promote and be a part of. I think Georgia mentioned a lot of the core ones, like the Tugboat Roundup. Obviously, Cycle the Erie is a huge one for us, which Erica talked a lot about. So anyone interested in that, definitely go check out their website to learn more about Cycle the Erie. But definitely go check out that events calendar as a hub for all things events. You'll see some featured events at the top as well for some of like the bigger celebrations and things that are happening in the corridor.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to this navigation season. Maybe we can go to 115. I've got another question just in general about accessible activities on the canal and specifically accessibility with kayak launches. So maybe Georgia, that's you. And then we can certainly do our best to take any questions that are outstanding and maybe do some personal follow-up. There were a couple specifics too, but I want to be mindful of everyone's time.
I actually share that one with Mona because I think she has great information on maybe quantities and locations of the accessible kayak launches. But yes, municipalities are actively installing more and more accessible kayak launches across the system, which are really wonderful additions to getting out onto the canal. I know the town I live in is installing one this year, and we've had nothing but, rave reviews for how those function and how our community is using those. But Mona, if you want to add anything to that, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, so we have about 25 in the canal right now, with plans to add several more. And the goal is to make the water trail, as accessible as possible for to have the most accessible water trail in the country. So investments are being made, and we have a tourism infrastructure grant program where we encourage communities to apply to put in accessible launches. So we just finished up a round recently, and the next round will be opening up this fall. So if you have a community in mind that needs an accessible launch with with adaptive equipment and adaptive features to the launch, then, we encourage people to apply for that. There are several locations, especially in Brockport and Fairport, that have, whole infrastructure for adaptive recreation. So they have adaptive kayaks, adaptive bikes, they have the launch, they have all the support. So I encourage you to take a look at those two communities. I hope that helps.
And we're at 1:15 now, so I defer to the group if we'll keep going, but we've covered a lot of the Q&A that was asked in the chats and the Q&A submissions. And of course, all of your content throughout this program has answered a lot of the questions that came in during registration.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becky. Thank you to everybody on the call today who attended. As we mentioned earlier, we'll be sending out the slide deck in addition to giving you all access to a recording. So if you want to go back and reference anything that you saw or heard today, you're able to do that. There will also be slides at the end of today's slide deck that include resource links to all of the resources that we mentioned today. Our contact information is also going to be included, as you just saw. So if you have any specific questions, please feel free to reach out to any one of our organizations, and we'd be happy to direct you to the right place or get you answers to any other questions that you might have. So with that, thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you to all of the panelists who gave us all of this wonderful information, and we hope that we will see you out on the canals this summer.
Yay,
Have a
thank
great
you.
day,
See you
everyone.
later. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. All right. I think we can go ahead and end it. Thanks, guys.
Bye.